Hey everybody, Isaiah Colton here, and welcome back to another episode of Renegade CEO, where I bring to you unique guests that don't go with the mainstream. They're willing to kind of step outside of the box and see the world as it is in the future, not as it is right now. And part of that is not just by trying to just be a professional, but thinking like a CEO. The CEOs are always thinking like the next step, and my community, I want to help my community think like a world-class growth CEO. And so I'm excited to have Rick on with us here today. And Rick definitely fits that profile. Not only is he a top producing agent in the luxury space, but he is actually taking AI and running with it and really helping the real estate community adopt AI in a meaningful way to get results through his summits, products that he's developing, his educational courses and classes. And so Rick, I'm really excited to have you on here today.
Well, thank you, Isaiah. Appreciate being here.
So Rick, just for the audience, before we jump into the AI, I'd like them to get to know you a little bit, and kind of like what your DNA, what your makeup is. And so I'd love to have I'd love you to talk a little bit about your backstory, if you don't mind, starting up to maybe like what you were doing a couple years before real estate, kind of starting there, and why the hell you decided to get involved in this crazy industry we call real estate.
Sure. So I had bounced around sales, restaurant management, and then got a law degree and an MBA from the University of Illinois. So I actually moved from Chicago to Denver as an attorney. And
oh, wow.
I was doing contract and real estate law, and it sounds glamorous, but it's a lot of copying and pasting, and billing every 6 minutes of your day sucks the fun out of life faster than anything you can imagine. I remember going down to get the elevator, escalator, get a cup of coffee, come back up, and in lost billable time, it cost me $60.
Oh my God.
When you start looking at like, oh gosh, a cup of coffee cost me $60 in lost billable time, you start looking at life differently. And all of a sudden, every minute is metered on your days on and on your days off. So I ran into somebody who was a friend of mine who was in mortgages, and he was living in a $3 million house. I'm like, what are you doing? Something different than what I'm doing, obviously. And I realized I had to decouple time from money. And real estate was kind of a passion of mine anyway. I was always spotting up and coming homes and upcoming neighborhoods. I could walk into a home and visually see it remodeled before I could even, and then all I've got to do is bridge the gap between walking into it and having it remodeled. So went into mortgages for 2 years while I was seasoning my real estate license. That was back in 2002, and been in full-time realtor ever since.
That's awesome. And what made you want to focus more on luxury? Where did that transition happen? Or did you always just know you wanted to do higher end homes?
So I had a coach one time tell me, he said, hey, there's two ways to double your income. One is to double the number of transactions. The other is to double your price point. Which would you like to do? I was like, well, doubling my price point decouples time for money once again, right? So it's the same thing when I got into restaurant business. I could work at a Pizza Hut or I could work in fine dining, and it's the same amount of hours. So I went into fine dining because the price per plate was better. And when you have a higher price per plate, average price per customer, you have a higher tip. So real estate's the same way. You can work on $200,000 homes, you can work on $1 million homes. Obviously, $1 million takes a higher level of skill, higher level of relationship building, higher level of marketing. But ultimately, you're putting in the same hours. So if you're going to be putting in the same hours, put it in at a higher skill level and get paid more.
Yeah, it amazes me in my coaching community how many people don't know their dollar per hour average, not because of their fault, they weren't taught what their dollar per hour average is. And this kind of ties into like time and opportunity costs. And every time you're spending money on one home, you're not spending money on another home, or you're not spending time on another home, right? And so I love that mindset of like, hey, look, if I'm going to be spending time on doing a deal on a home anyway, it comes down to what home, right? Or what property is going to net me the most for the time that I'm putting in. And I think there's a very real conversation to be had there. And I this isn't really like the purpose of this podcast, but I'm curious, like, what sort of limiting beliefs do you see people get or have when they start saying, hey, look, I want to work with high income properties? And maybe what were some of your limiting beliefs you had to overcome? I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that the common ones are I don't know rich people,
Mm.
and I don't hang around. If I need to be around rich people to know rich people and build relationships with rich people, I have to spend a lot of money. I have to join a
Oh
country
yeah,
club. I have to go to the $500 per plate black tie every Friday. I have to join this. I have to do that. And if I can't do that, then I can't break into luxury.
yeah.
I think that's a big one.
And then what do you say to them when they say that to you?
Well, there are a lot of different ways of breaking into luxury. And if you're not going to volunteer, I mean, if you're not going to buy the $500 per plate black tie, go volunteer at that event, right? Because people who
Love
are
that.
at that event care about that event, care about that cause. And so you can work the reception table. You can check people in. You can be friendly. You can work the auction table and help people through the auction items and sort of build rapport there. You can get to know the other volunteers. You can get to know all the mingling events, right? So you can volunteer in through the back door is one way. And there are other ways to be around rich people, right? There are free events that rich people go to. So
Yeah,
and it's a
yeah,
matter of and it's not the rich person is not the person that's dressed well necessarily. It could be the used F-150 with the torn jeans, and that could be a multimillionaire. But
so true.
go to things that resonate with you. If you love dog adoption, go to dog adoption events. If you love cancer events, go to cancer events. If you like to ski, go ski. Like whatever you love to do, go play pickleball. But you can play
Right.
pickleball in a higher price per capita, neighborhood, right? And get to know wealthier people playing pickleball based off where you play pickleball.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, your network equals your net worth, right? Is that the saying?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Is that your net worth is equal to your net worth? And I found that to be so true. One of the biggest regrets I had is that I had really good success out of the gate in a corporate job, but then also as an entrepreneur. And I really didn't network. I kind of like had a stride in something that I was really good at. And I always use an excuse in the back of my mind. It's like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm making a ton of money. Whatever, whatever. And then all of a sudden, my model the economy shifted, and I felt naked. And one of the things that I made a commitment, this is probably 5, 7 years ago now, is that I'm never gonna like feel this way again. And so I've been intentional and purposeful to network. And it's amazing how many unbelievable opportunities come. And I know we're talking about luxury in this instance, but it's amazing how many other great opportunities come your way if you are just very intentional about networking and creating relationships. And it's like if you look at the DNA of every great pro entrepreneur, you look at their network, and it's like I don't think there's ever one thing. Like I don't like that conversation is like, what's the one thing? There's a whole bunch of things why people are successful, but I'll tell you what, I haven't met too many people that are extremely successful that don't have a good network.
Yeah.
Like, so so
And
I think that's a really, really. You were gonna say something? Yeah.
yeah, sorry. And you can do that in another couple different ways. Recently, I love photography. And so recently I've did photography for a friend's event. But in doing so, I met all the keynote speakers. I met a lot of other people. And then I was able to side up to them a little bit and say, hey, I've got this other thing going on. Can we talk about that offline? And found a sponsor for an event, found a speaker for an event, found a venue for an event, just by being the photographer and at an event where I wanted to meet the people. Another thing I realized is if you can't afford the 25, and I learned this through charity events. I used to work through a charity group and we'd have $50,000 title sponsors. And I realized I could never sponsor that event for 50 grand. But if I threw my own event, I could be my title sponsor for free. And I
Love
could
that.
have my guests pay for the event. My other sponsors pay for the event. So $20 ticket, you get 1,000 people, you've got a $20,000 event. And I can be the title sponsor. And now I've got the list and now I can market to that list. So just
I
get
love that.
creative.
I love that. That's awesome. So made a name for yourself in the luxury market. I understand you actually just had a book come out not too long ago. Or are you still working on that book? I didn't remember exactly where it is. So tell us about that
Yeah.
project.
So
Yeah.
I'm co-author in Michael LaFido's book, The Secrets of Top Luxury Agents, and I did a chapter on AI in that one. And then I'm also co-author of and the creator of a book called Real Estate Mastery: Your First 90 Days as a Real Estate Agent. And what I did there is I interviewed 35 top producing coaches, including yourself, and top producers and CEOs of companies, trying to figure out like what advice can we give to that brand new agent,
Love
and
that.
then try to cure this failure rate that we have of 80 to 85% in the first 2 years, right? What are they not learning in real estate school about how to run a business? And basically it's everything. So let's like take the masters who all want to give back and create chapters based off of their knowledge. And so that book right now is currently in front of a couple different publishers looking to go mainstream. We were going to self-publish originally, but now we decided this is such a seminal book and such a seminal work. We're actually trying to get it published by one of the top 5. So
That's
that
great.
is currently under review by one of those, which is exciting.
Good for you. That's really awesome. I love that, and it's needed. And it was actually funny that you mentioned that, because I did a podcast with another really, really well-known real estate coach probably 3 months ago now. And I asked him this question. I said, for all the training and coaching, for all the tools, all the technology that's been out there over the past 20 years, that success rate has not changed. And I asked him why. And his opinion is kind of interesting, is he says, well, because a lot of times there's so much going on, we forget about the basics. And he goes, and then he told me the story about a real estate team that had signed up to every piece of technology. They had all the fancy marketing. They had everything, but his team was not doing one of the most basic fundamental things to make it all work, and that was lead conversion, lead follow-up. And also maintaining relationships with their SOI. They got so hooked on like some of the shiny stuff, the new leads and all that. And he goes, I think that's the cancer, is that we want to think it's something, there's something different, and we get distracted. And I've been there before, right? We've been distracted. So the art and science of doing things differently is not losing the foundation while you try to build on top of the foundation. Was kind of like what we had determined. And the other thing I think is really interesting, I feel bad for new agents that don't know this, or newer agents 1-2 years in. What they do at one stage of their business, they're watching all these top rock stars. They're hearing what they're doing, and what they're doing is really not for them, most likely, because they're not there yet to be able to properly execute what they're doing. So then they get distracted. They go do these complex things, and they wonder why there's no ability to be able to execute. Because like when you hear the team leader or the broker or the guy that's the top agent, you don't know all of the things he's got going on in the background that actually makes that work, right? So I love the fact that you're putting out that book with really really helping that agent in the first 90 days, because I really think it's so needed. So I'm excited to we'll cross our fingers with that bigger publisher. That's a really exciting opportunity for you. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, and one of the things we're going to try to do with that book too is take this sound advice, take all of the basics, the fundamentals, the core foundation that you talked about, and then give each chapter a little AI tweak too. Like, let's modernize it. Let's say, this is how you can do it for the past 35 years, but some of this drudgery, some of this repetitive work, not the relationship building stuff, not the emotional storytelling, not the infusion of your personality, but all of the drudgery can be sped up with AI. And so we're going to teach that within the book too, and try to do that in an evergreen fashion. I mean, AI is growing so fast; it's hard to publish a book that's not out of date in a week.
So tough.
But we'll try. We'll do our best.
Yeah. There are some fundamentals though that AI will always be doing, right? So, good luck tackling that one. That's, because it is changing so fast. I did a calculation that it took me $2 million to get to where I am with the software stack that I have. If I started that same software stack with AI the way it is now, it probably would have cost about $500,000. So to do just 2 years later, like because the technology has advanced so far and so fast of how you can build things, it's quite wild. On on a little bit of a different note, you see this AI thing hit. You're doing your real estate. Why did you go head first in? Like, tell us the background story on that.
Yeah,
Like, because you went all in. Yeah.
getting into it was actually kind of funny because I resisted it. I
Okay.
really did. Someone called me, a coach called me up and said, "Hey, check this out. You can take someone's YouTube video, transcribe it, rewrite it, and then publish it as your own." And I said, "That sounds totally unethical," and I hung up. Because I wasn't really thinking of the long-term consequences, right? I was just like,
Sure. Sure.
this doesn't
Yeah,
sit well.
you had the attorney hat on for a second, and you're like, wait a second, like
Yeah.
that's not gonna, yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, would I want someone ripping me off? Like, no, it didn't sound right.
right,
So, but then, like, it woke me up, right? And that call was pivotal in my journey because it did wake me up, and I started saying, well, what is possible, and what can you do, and how can you ride trends, and how, and all of that. So I started looking back, and I tell this story a lot. It's like I look at the introduction of all the technology over time. And Gmail became a time suck. Text messaging became a time suck. YouTube, huge time suck, especially for realtors, where they have to be like, now be a creative genius and a photographer and a video editor and learn Premiere Pro and all this nonsense to make a 30-second video that's not going to really convert anything. Unless
right.
they do it consistently, and nobody does it consistently. Very few.
Nobody does it
Top
consistently. Yeah.
0.5%.
Yeah.
Then you look at social media and how many places do you have to post your lunchtime hamburger and all this other crazy stuff. And it became all this technology like really became such a time suck. And AI started when I started diving into it was the first technology that could give me my time back. It could speed up email writing, speed up copywriting, speed up marketing, speed up editing, speed up all this stuff.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like with 3 young kids, I started saying, hey, how do I get time back to spend more time with my family? And wouldn't other realtors like that too? And
That's
wouldn't
powerful.
if I could start saving people time, I could start maybe saving marriages. I could maybe start saving relationships. Maybe start helping people with their income, which would save a home, which would save stress, which was eliminate diseases that are caused by stress. Like you start looking at the ripple effects of giving people time back in their day, and that really started exciting me. So I started like taking every class I could take, learning from every mentor I could take, spending as much money as I could on everything I could find, constantly consuming email newsletters and webinars and all this other stuff. I mean,
Yep.
I even went and
Yep.
took classes at MIT, just trying to figure out like how can I get so far ahead that I can look back and help lift other people up. And it just became a really
I love
exciting
that.
journey for me.
I love that. What's been the most interesting thing that you're working on, let's say in the past 6 months within the AI space?
Yeah, so I've got 2 software projects I'm working on. One it involves virtual twins, which is avatars, and more of the delivery mechanism for those. And then there's another one I've recently started because it's kind of killing me. I teach AI. People are like, "Oh man, Rick, this is amazing. This is awesome," and then they don't do it. And everybody wants that easy button. And so one of the things we've been working on, we're about a week or two away from launching, is what I call the Easy RE button, Easy for Real Estate button. And it's all of my workflows, all my top workflows, like 6, 7, 8, 10 stages. It's not simple stuff. It's not just a prompt. It's really complex workflows, but with one-click simplicity. And
Wow, that's
so we're
awesome.
just giving people, we're saying, hey, you can click one button, enter an address, click one button, and hit yes or no. And that's about the extent of it. And you're going to get email copy, you're going to get blog copy, you're going to get website copy, you're going to get social media copy, you're going to get your virtual twin avatar video script, everything, just with a yes or no. And then in phase 2 of that, we're actually going to be able to send those emails through someone's CRM, send it directly to YouTube and everything
Right.
else. But for our
Right.
MVP, our minimum viable product that's going to be coming out in a week or two, with one-click simplicity, you get all of that. No need to learn prompts, no need to learn prompt engineering, no need to log into ChatGPT. You go to our Easy RE button, and it's all one-click simplicity. So I'm really excited about that because we're going to come to market probably around $30 a month. And so for $30 a month, and you pay $20 for ChatGPT anyway, for $30 a
Right.
month, now all of those workflows are built in. You don't have to learn how to build custom GPTs. You don't have to learn how to build complex workflows, all this other
Right.
stuff.
Because you got all the workflows already built out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to build personas for you. We're going to have a copywriter for you, a professional marketing person for you. All of this dedicated directly to real estate. And that's been a really exciting project to be working on. It's kept me
That's
up more than a
exciting.
few nights.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, and it's amazing how much time it can save when you have something that is already pre-programmed, and whether you're looking to market a listing or do a blog, and it has more intelligence than you do in a way. It sounds like that's what you're providing. Is that it's one thing to like conceptually think, oh, I want this, but like to know the exact prompt and intelligence to get that thing is a totally different art and science, and that takes a lot of kind of thinking and in knowing how to prompt. And it sounds like for every channel of marketing, you're providing like a growth hack from what I'm hearing, so that they can click that easy button and then it generates that particular style of content or marketing. Is that what I'm hearing is what the easy button does? Is it when you mean my
Exactly.
workflows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like you might have hey, I've got an open house. Click the open house easy button. It tells you everything you need to
Right.
do, all the copy related to that, all the steps related to that. You're wanting
To
to do
right.
a price reduction, everything related to that. You want to do a Facebook Live about a neighborhood, boom, everything you need to do about that. You want to
Right.
do an inspection report, everything one click easy. So
Love that.
being in real estate for over 20 years, I know what a realtor needs to do. And so we just started saying, what are things realtors do repetitively?
Yep.
Then
And how do you
how
how do
can
you
we knock those out?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, cool. I'm excited to see that develop and network with you on that. Maybe do some events on promoting that product. That's really awesome. Kind of wrapping up the podcast when it comes to AI. Like, what do you see happening in the next 6 months to a year from now with AI, and what should we be looking out for?
I wish I had a crystal ball on that. I really do. The thing I think I would caution people on is there are so many shiny objects being introduced every single day. So you can say, okay, well, great. I can create a song with one click. I can create a video with one click. I can do all these things with one click, and that's fine. But is it solving a problem in your business? So
Yes.
rather than get
Amen to that.
distracted by, hey,
Yes.
I can create like an image of me as a superhero in a toy box. Does that actually move your business forward in any way, shape, or form? Or are you just wasting time? And so continually, like as AI evolves, and it's going to move really, really rapidly. I mean, just even what we've seen in the past 6 months has been amazing. As this exponentially gets faster and faster and better, look at what your core
Yep.
business problem is, and then find AI that solves your core business problem. Don't just say, hey,
I
here's
love that.
something fun. Can I do it in my business?
That's really powerful. That's really powerful advice. I love that. Yeah, because sometimes people you get caught up in the dopamine hit of how cool it is, and you're like to your point, you're not relating it back to like, okay, is this a real problem I have to solve? Is this worth investing my time, money, and energy in? And I just think that's phenomenal advice because there's hundreds of them. And what's interesting is that I would say probably about 30 to 40 of them, you take like of the top like AI companies that are out there in real estate and also like in the general AI space. And then you take like if you take those 30 to 40, everyone else is duplicating or trying to do something that they're already doing. But because it's like creating this massive noise like and at least for my experience, there's probably 30 tools that if you're an advanced marketer and salesperson that you could integrate and it could be meaningful. And then you could probably drill it down to say there's maybe another 10 that you'll use every day, right? Like at least that's been my personal experience. Would you agree with that, or has your experience been different?
No, and I agree with that. And then there's also stuff like you shouldn't necessarily be doing all this yourself because while it's
Right. What
fun
teach
and
a VA to do it.
yeah,
Right.
while it's a good dopamine hit, your virtual assistant should be doing your SEM rush. Your virtual
Yep.
assistant should be doing, all of that's the $6 an hour work should be
Yep.
done by your virtual assistant. Because that's not if you're we go back. Let's go back to the beginning of our conversation, calculating your time. If you want to be a $500 an hour employee, 2,000 hours in the work year, it's $1 million GCI. If you want to ever achieve that, you can't be doing $6 an hour work. And so
That's right.
keep yourself at the $500 an hour level. Find that amazing AI tool. Learn what it does. Learn how it improves your
Right.
business, and then have a VA do it for you.
Yeah, I love that. One of my next projects that I want to tackle is actually to have a virtual assistant division of our company that are all trained on AI tools. So when you hire them, they have a real estate blueprint that's wrapped around AI tools that they have already been taught and know. I think that would be like a really unique value that you could present to the spaces, because this is what I'm finding. You hire virtual assistants, half of them aren't caught up with all the tools. They're still they're still doing things the way that they were taught 2 years ago, which half of those things are obsolete. And even for me, I'm having to tell my team to stop using that tool. That tool is slowing you down because you're used to it. Like, you need to use this one, and then all of a sudden they use it one time and they're like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I see the power in it now. So I think there's a huge space for people that are willing to train VAs to also help business owners, because it's one thing to like say, hey, I need a VA that knows AI. It's another thing to actually make sure they're using the right tools for real estate. So I think it'd be an interesting space to carve out. I'm watching closely to see who's going to carve that space out in our market.
I'm working on that right now, so let's talk offline.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. That sounds good. Because I have a third-party company that I use to source a ton of VAs to my clients, and I get paid a piece of it. And so I'm like, kind of in my head, I'm like, I think there's a big play. I think there's a big play here. So I think there's a big opportunity here. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you offline about that. If you could leave us with, like, I think you had some really, really good advice. I want to make sure that people heard it. Just kind of wrap up with how people should be using AI just one more time to make sure our audience heard it loud and clear, so that way they're not getting distracted, et cetera, and we can end there.
I think AI is most powerfully used to speed up your repetitive tasks that are not directly client. Well, they're client facing, right? So, creating drip campaigns, right? That's client facing, but it's not a relationship. It's not where you're having one-on-one with somebody. So when you're doing lead nurturing, when you're doing lead warm up, when you're doing automated follow up, anything that's bulk can be done by AI really, really effectively. And I know with Ren 360, you've developed some amazing tools for that I really appreciate and admire. That $2 million was well spent, because now you're ahead of the marketplace, right? So AI should be doing your repetitive tasks, writing listing descriptions. Anything you do more than once, AI can do.
Right.
Better, faster, easier, cheaper. And the whole goal is to help you have more time to be in front of a person, creating authentic human relationship, which is where your business is going to double, triple, quadruple.
I love that. And I hope everyone heard that loud and clear, because there's nothing, at least not right now, that's going to replace that relationship. It's supposed to give you leverage so that you can have more time to create and nurture those relationships and do other things you want with your life, both business and personal. Rick, I've really enjoyed this podcast. I know that my audience is going to get a ton out of it, and hopefully we help them have breakthroughs, particularly around the area of being careful what shiny objects they chase. And to make sure if it's really going to solve a big problem. I love that. That was a big takeaway that I took, among other things, on this podcast. And if I guess the best way to reach out to you, or if they want to check out your book, what would be the best way to do that? We can wrap up there.
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is just through my website, janson.ai, janson.ai. Bunch of different options to connect with me there.
Awesome. That's great. And can they learn more about your book on that site too?
Not the book yet, no, because we still have to get the book approved by a publisher.
You're still rolling. Okay, yeah. Still rolling with it. All right, we're going to stay in touch on that book, and I'd love to help you promote that when we're ready. So I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Again, Isaiah Colton here with another episode of Renegade CEO. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with somebody that needs to hear this message here today, and we'll see you next time.